We're changing the impeller on our Atomic Universal 5411 engine on our Sea Sprite 28. Here's the kit from Amazon for the Orberdorfer pump, and all the part numbers are right there. It cost about $35. And here's the part number again. Make sure you close the seacock when you get started. Some water is going to leak out when you do this. As long as the seacock is closed, it's just the water from up above the pump leaking down. You see how those fins, that top fin is bent back like that? When we put the new one in, we want to bend it so it lays back like that, the same way. I don't see a snap ring on it, so maybe it just slides right out. We'll take that O-ring off. We have another O-ring with our kit. So the impeller was stuck on the shaft here, and you can see the groove for a snap ring, but there was no snap ring on it because it had broken off over time, and the impeller itself had slid to the end of the shaft. The impeller was stuck on the end of the shaft, so we actually ended up setting that between the grills of a barbecue and put a screwdriver on there and just hammered it and slid it out. We got our impeller shaft all nice and clean. Here's the snap ring. Here's the impeller. We'll put a little bit of grease on the impeller shaft, slide the impeller on, put the clip on, and put it back in. There we go, slid all the way on no problem, and you can see that groove in the end of the shaft is accessible for the snap ring to clip back in. We got the snap ring back in there, and the ears on the snap ring were actually a little too big, and I had to sand them down so that they fit in there. And then also the points on the pliers here were a little too big, so I also had to sand those down so I could use them. I greased up the shaft, spread it around, gonna put it in there, get it spread out, and then put some Dawn dish soap here on the impeller. This part's important. You want the impeller fins to lay the same way in here that they did when you took it out. I'm just looking to see if this looks like it's all the way back, and it does. Now I just have to find wherever I put that cover. I cleaned this up here, clean this groove, a little bit of sandpaper, a wire brush if you have it, brass brush, you can use that. You put some Dawn dish soap on the impeller there and on the cover, put the O-ring back in, and we'll see if it leaks. In the kit, there's an O-ring and a gasket. You'll use one or the other, but not both. Just putting the O-ring back in. These screws came out no problem, but I just put a dab of grease on them before I put them in to just make sure it'll come out again, no problem. Just put the screws in, tighten them up. While we were at it here, we unscrewed the strainer, clean that out, we'll put it back in nice and clean. After everything's all back together, before you start the engine, remember to open the seacock, and then after you start the engine, check to make sure water is flowing out of the exhaust.